Married but single, why young Korean couples delay registering status. So this is actually very true. I know a lot of people around me that are actually married, but they're not on paper married. Once you register, everything from your legal status, housing eligibility, and even welfare benefits change. Delaying marriage registration is a way of avoiding the uncertainty of what could happen if the relationship ends. Some couples do not want a divorce to appear on their official records. This is a very big motive as well. The world has changed a lot, but divorce still carries disadvantages in this conservative society. Kim divorced last year after just 1 year of marriage. Oof. I'm still young, but because of that record, people assume there's something wrong with me, and it works against me, especially in the dating market. Oh, that is for sure. We say 한번 갔다 왔어. It's like you've done the round trip. Essentially, it's the same as, like being a couple and then breaking up and you're back in the dating market. But just because of the fact that you were married and there was a divorce, people take it more seriously as a minus on you. I don't understand, because who would you prefer? These are extreme cases, but just for the sake of entertainment. Number one, there's this guy that has been a playboy. He's not married until he's like 35, like me right now. He says his body count, or like the number of partners he's met, is like 20 or 30 or something like that. Versus there's this other guy that has only dated like 3 times in his whole life, and at the third one, he decided to get married. He was married for a year, but then they didn't work out, so they got divorced. That's number 2. Which person would you prefer among these two? The second, right? Exactly. You committed, you were more devoted, and you were more serious about it, but it just didn't work out. Unfortunate. According to a lot of statistics, it says that there's an increase in 20s to 30s divorces. Depends on why the marriage ended. Exactly. The devil is in the detail. I totally agree. If it was because of domestic violence, or if it was because of, I don't know, gambling and getting into massive debt or something, if it's because of personality difference and you just weren't compatible as much as you thought and it didn't work out, then I think it's not different from like having a serious relationship without legal papers. There's traditional standards, there's conservative, and there's progressive, and it's always a battle between those two. And divorce has historically not been like such a very widely adopted norm, right? Religiously or society-wise. So I think because of that stigma, like going back to the news, I think that's a huge motive for these people, young Korean people, not to get married on paper, because they don't want to leave a trail. However, the decision to delay marriage registration tends to be driven less by emotional uncertainty and more by practical financial concerns. Some people will just get married super early just for housing purposes, because the government gives you a lot of benefits if you're a married couple. And if you have a baby, they give you even more benefits. So yeah, people think like, am I going to meet someone better than this? You might as well just get married early, elevate my financial status earlier. Like it's better to own a house earlier, right? It's getting more and more financial. Marriage is simply a property contract. I think people are seeing it more in a financial kind of lens. Because of that, a lot of people are getting more cautious about marriage too, because of the divorce and the divorce rates they're seeing. Statistics don't lie, right? It's a reality. And everybody just tries to hide it. And a lot of people fear the divorce split. So people be like, let's not get married on paper. Let's separate our funds. A lot of people I know actually put their money for marriage under the name of their mother or their parents, so that it could be legally untouched because it's under a different name. There are marriages that they have like contracts actually. It's like prenups. If we were to get into a divorce in the future, anything split should only be from this point on what we earn after our marriage. It says registered couples are assessed based on their combined household income when applying for a mortgage. For some dual income middle class couples, this can actually reduce access to government support. I've seen a lot of interviews saying they got married because they have double income, and you know how money snowballs, right? If you have a bigger seed money. Is there a similar term for a certain group of single women in Korea, just like in China, where they are called the leftover women? I don't think we call them as brutal as that. Yeah, I think that's very derogatory, obviously, but that's very brutal in even Korean standards. We would just say 이혼녀. That would be like divorced woman. But it goes for the same for men as well, to 이혼남. But a specific term, I've heard it like one time from like the media that wants to actually sensationalize these kind of terms. It's called 반품남, 반품녀. It means like it's a refund, returned product. But I have seldom heard these. Oh, okay. So this is not a derogatory term, but we definitely use this term. This is like the most widely used term. I'm glad you actually asked. 돌싱. This is the most commonly used word for anybody who's gone through a divorce and has returned. 돌싱 is an acronym for 돌아온 싱글. 싱글로 돌아오다. That means like you've returned as a single. That's actually a very positive term. I think it has a positive connotation because people didn't want to label divorced people as something wrong or bad. They made up this term, so it's more friendly, it's more media friendly, it's more easier to describe a person. In the old days, we'd always shush and say like, oh, he's like, you know, he's a secondhand returned, something like that. But then ever since we use this term, we can just openly say, oh, 돌싱이야, like he's a 돌싱. So this is good. In the past, direct and somewhat negative terms such as divorced man or divorced woman were primarily used, but as social perceptions have changed, the word 돌싱, which carries a friendly and confident connotation, has become a commonplace. If the individuals have children, they are sometimes referred to specifically as 돌싱 mom or 돌싱 papa. Yes, exactly. So I really like, you know, the terminologies matter. So yeah, having this word is a very big difference. So it's a good change. It's a good change. The government should abolish income taxes for couples giving birth to 2+ children for 15 to 20 years so they get financial breathing room. Really wish it to happen. I agree. If you get more than 2 kids, I think they deserve it. We actually call people nowadays that even have 1 kid a patriot. We call people with 2 and 3 kids with more emphasis 애국자네, 애국자. Yeah, so there's a national consensus. Because we're having a birth rate crisis, that anybody who is having more than 2+ kids is a patriot. So they get a lot of benefits and nobody complains about that. They think it's like, yeah, they deserve it. Oh my god. Oh, I don't know where you learned this, SYJ, but that is a very, very bad term. But since it's in the comments, I will try to explain it as politely. This is a very bad term. It's not particularly for divorced women. It's actually like a more generally derogatory term for any woman that is old, that doesn't have like the ability to bear a child. So someone who gets closer to like 30, mid-30s, late 30s, they become unfavorable from the dating market. Means you're delisted. It's a stop term. And from the market, there are corporates that are not profitable. They're in massive debt and they have no value. So the market delists them, so they're no longer traded. But yeah, if you actually said that in front of a woman, or any setting, other than like the incels on the internet, I would not see that happening. Presumably there's not an equivalent word for men. If I look hard enough, I think there would be, because the radical feminists always have their mirroring tactics, so I would definitely think there would be. Hey, there is one. Okay. Oh my gosh, yeah, I think this is even worse. So if we're battling on who's more unfortunate, so delisted woman means like at least you had value up to that date, right? But there's actually a term called 도태남. 도태남. So 도태남 is a word that I hear a lot, even more than 상패녀. The term 도태남 is a neologism created by combining 도태, elimination, and 남자, man. Originally, 도태 referred to natural phenomenon where the weak or inferior gradually disappears. However, this concept has expanded to describe situations where individuals fall behind in competition or are excluded from society, making it difficult for them to demonstrate their abilities, who has been pushed out social competition on the dating market, unable to find suitable spouses, or who's in a state of being economically or socially behind. So basically, this term is used to anyone who looks ugly, who's fat, who doesn't have a job, who isn't able to date, who isn't able to get a marriage, who's basically a loser. And it's a very harsh way to say like, oh, you've been eliminated from society, like you have no value. Basically, 상패녀 and 도태남 have the same meaning, but it's like 도태남 is like you're innately like that. Like you didn't have a chance from the start. You're just a freaking loser. Like you should go die and something like that. We use the term like you're a waste of air and oxygen. That's like the nuance behind 도태남. And 상패녀 is like, oh, women honestly, if they want to get married, they can get married, because women are always, you know, the demand between men and women are imbalanced, right? Like men will flock and line up to any kind of woman. Like for women, it's like you hit a certain age and then you get delisted. But for men, they're like from the beginning, innately you don't have a chance. So you're just like a piece of trash from society. So I don't know. I don't want to get too dark. This is getting too dark. Like, why did you ask me questions like this? And then females put Hannam in front of it, which means Korean man, and they're labeling Korean men as like patriarchal, sexist, misogynist, stupid, unattractive, small dick, whatever, all these bad terms, and they made it into the word Korean man, Hannam, and then they would put Hannam Totenam. So it's like double. Korean eliminated man, so you're like at the gutters. The term leftover women are single women in their late 20s and above and can't find anyone to marry because of their lofty expectations of a partner. That's interesting because from your explanation, it means it's because of their expectations that they're leftover. But for our word, it's like, it's not because of them. It's because our society looks at it in that way. Is 4B still going strong in South Korea? I told you 4B never existed in the first place. Like, it existed maybe among maximum, I would say, a couple hundred people. Yeah, over a 50 million population. If you would call that existent, then you can call it existent. You go out on the street, grab a random woman, like, you can interview 100 of them, and 99 of them wouldn't even know what the heck a 4B movement is, right? To do the 4B movements. But it's a more widely known term, ironically, in the West by Western media. Because that small term started here and by a small amount of people, but then Western media sensationalized it and thought it was interesting, and BBC or whatever, these snap media started spreading it, and then a lot of women around the world related to it, and they said, we need our own 4B as well too, just like the Koreans. So yeah, you could say it originated from Korea, but is it existent here? I'm just being very objective here. Like, please don't call me misogynist or whatever. Let's not get David strike down with these bad terms, yes. Couples crash strangers' weddings to catch free glimpses of venues. This is actually what Danny did when he was looking for wedding venues too. Apparently you have to go through wedding planners, and these venues also have like tours that you can only book for certain time slots, and because there's a lot of demand but low time slots, so a lot of people are just sneaking in to other people's weddings, and they're disguised as guests. And this is becoming a little bit of a problem because, you know, if you're not invited, if you're a stranger at someone else's wedding, you're not even congratulating them. They didn't even leave a gift and kept scanning the room. They said things like the hall is smaller than expected. Yeah, so I don't think it's harmful or anything. I get the stress too, because, you know, wedding venues, they be all cocky and they don't want to like show you stuff. They don't want to give you tours, and they want to feel like they're limited, act expensive. But yeah, it's just not basic manners to go into someone else's wedding and just probe around. Danny is a wedding crasher. I like him more now. Yeah, he's actually admitted on DKDK that he's been going on tours to wedding halls when there are other people's weddings, and he's like peeking in because he never got like the time or a reservation to be actually able to get a proper tour. How much do you give the wedding couple? It depends. If it's a close friend with inflated prices nowadays, it used to be $100 was the standard 10 years ago. Nowadays, I think if you're really close, you give 150 or 200, because like 150 isn't a round figure. When I go to a wedding, I get the money from the ATM, and until the last minute, I question myself whether I should give $150 or $200. So for $150, I'm like, yeah, I'm close, but not that close. We only see each other like once or twice per year, but we are friends. So 150, it's not like a round figure. Okay, maybe I should just round it up to 200, but then that extra $50 is worth like 4 meals, 5 meals. I could use that money. At the end, I just try to save face, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll give you 200. But yeah, if it's just an acquaintance, I definitely just go for 100.